weird.
All right, yeah, you can call me my name. All right. So welcome to another episode of the Bandwagon Sports Podcast. Today we are going to discuss the Los Angeles Clippers and the DeAndre Jordan saga. Joining us today is SB Nation Los Angeles Clipper blogger and Clipper extraordinaire factician, Shapan Debnathi. Welcome aboard, Shapan.
Debnath.
Debnath, still working the kinks out. Our first flagship podcast together.
Flagship, yep.
Yep.
What's up?
So, not much. So, this is a crazy week. I don't even know where to start. There's so many angles to this DeAndre Jordan free agency saga. To me, it's one of the greatest courtships in NBA history in terms of drama and entertainment.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on how the whole thing went down?
I mean, it's pretty crazy because last week, all through, since the playoffs ended, I thought pretty much DJ was coming back. Since the playoffs ended to your Rockets, I thought DJ was coming back. We just need to work out the kinks. Josh Smith won't hit 4 threes in a game again for the rest of his life. Corey Brewer won't go crazy in the fourth quarter. None of this stuff will happen again. And I still don't understand losing to the Rockets. But as soon as that collapse happened, pretty much figured that, okay, DJ's coming back. We need to get a small forward, yada, yada, yada. Same old. Pretty much the same stuff I was thinking of last year. We also kind of collapsed to the Thunder. And the more I heard, it's funny because during the playoffs, want to say during the Spurs series, the DeAndre to the Mavs thing sort of picked up. I read a couple articles on it, and I just kind of dismissed it. I was like, we're still in the playoffs. And the Mavericks were about to lose to the Rockets, and I was surprised to see any of that chatter at that time, but I guess things were kicking up then. And I knew about Fagan, and I knew about the agent switch, and so I was kind of worried, but I didn't think of it. I thought DJ was coming back, and things started really picking up. I guess this time last week, a little bit before last weekend, and it started to look really serious because I don't know why we started to hear a lot of things like DJ was hearing that he could be the next Shaq, and Cuban was talking about 2020s. Parsons was talking about how he could be the best center in basketball, and a lot of fluff, really. And I was like, oh, he's never going to fall for any of this. But he's a kid. He's young. He's like as old as I am, practically a little bit younger.
He's and not the if I heard person.
Exactly. And he's never been very mentally strong. Doc's inspired a lot of that into him over the last couple seasons. Vinny Del Negro was a terrible inspirer of DJ because he would pull him constantly for people like Lamar Odom, and that was not the 6 Man of the Year Lamar Odom. That was I just ruined the Dallas Mavericks Lamar Odom, and Khloe Kardashian is ruining my life Lamar Odom. So Vinny never inspired confidence in him. We were about to trade him for Kevin Garnett, and virtually every Clipper fan in the Doc trade, it was supposed to be a Doc and KG for the pick and DJ, and everybody was excited for it. Kevin Garnett had a really good year with the Celtics that year. That was, I think, the year they lost to the Knicks, maybe. And but Garnett was fantastic, and he had a good string of double doubles near the end of the year, and he looked like a really interesting player. But that didn't happen. The Nets trade happened. Garnett has looked terrible ever since, and DJ has gotten better ever since. But as soon as Doc came to the Clippers, he was talking about how DJ was the third of the big three, the next Bill Russell, Defensive Player of the Year, yada yada, and DJ just picked up his game to the next level. So now he's become this indispensable piece, not just defensively as a rim protector, but offensively as a pick and roll guy. Because when DJ rolls to the rim, it's intimidating. People come off of shooters to cover him because they're just afraid of him. He's an amazing finisher, can dunk and catch anything you throw up there up to 20 feet practically. It feels like he's a really big piece, not just to the defense but to the offense. A lot of people think he's not skilled offensively. He's not really skilled in the post, but he's a great finisher, and that's what you need when you got two of the best passers in their positions in Chris Paul and Blake Griffin. So
he's one of the most athletic centers in NBA history, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. And if he's pretty sure, since Dwight's come off of it, he's the most athletic center in the league right now, easily. Mm-hmm. The closest person is probably Dwight, and Dwight's come off a little bit. He's had back injuries, and it's hard for him to do. He visibly frustrated Dwight whenever he was guarding him. He's a player, and I'm very surprised. I wanted DeAndre gone for the longest time. I didn't think he was worth the money that we had to match with the Golden State contract a few years ago, and all through the Vinny Del Negro years, I thought that every other contender in the league had a better center, but not even contender, playoff team, because DeAndre just wasn't cutting it, and a lot of it was just because he never had any confidence, and you could see a lot of the breakdown in maybe where he thought maybe he could leave the Clippers in some of the Spurs games, particularly in Game 7 against the Spurs, where he got pulled near the end of the game, so the Clippers went small, so they could run their offense a little bit better and a little bit more inside out. And you could see him pouting on the bench. I remember when Chris Paul hit the game winner against the Spurs, everybody went crazy in the arena, except for DeAndre, who was just kind of crouched over, and just looking like he didn't care. And so when all of this happened, I thought, wow, maybe he really did want to leave. Maybe the Chris Paul thing was serious. But until he announced that he was going to the Mavs, I didn't think he was going to leave. It just made no sense. It made no basketball sense. But I get he's a young guy and he wanted to explore his options. He's from Texas, all that stuff. But I didn't think he was leaving. I didn't think until he announced it.
Do you believe the reports that DJ is the one that reached out to the Clippers after he committed to the Mavs and not the other way around?
Absolutely. How else will it? Absolutely. How else would it really work? You think Doc's going to call him and beg him on his knees? We were looking at JaVale McGee. Like, we were serious about moving on. Here's what happened. I think in my mind, I think that DJ essentially made a decision, was pressured for whatever reasons, was fed a lot of stuff. The Mavs did a full court press, brought Dirk from vacation. Parsons was whining and dining him every day of the week, blah, blah, blah. Cuban was telling him all these things. And he was really inflated with the idea that he could be the guy and he could be the next piece to after Dirk retires. So he made a decision. The Clippers were given the option of when to pick their interview, what time to pick their interview. They chose last. None of the players showed up. It was just Doc and Ballmer. And I'm not sure even who else, but none of the players were at the meeting, whereas the entire Maverick organization seemed to be there during their meeting.
But, with the Clippers meeting, why do you think that was? Why do you think Blake or Chris Paul, didn't come to that meeting? This is a big piece, to them trying to win a title, and he's a free agent.
What are they going to say? They're going to just be like, we're going to do the stuff we've been doing. Like, what are they going to say? The biggest person to say anything would probably be Doc. Doc could be like, we're going to put you more in the offense. We're going to run some stuff through the post. Blake can only agree. Blake and Chris can only agree. I don't know how contentious the entire Chris Paul, DeAndre Jordan thing was. It's been made out to be contentious. I don't see it. I see Chris getting mad at DJ when he doesn't put the ball back up when there's a second left and we could beat the Blazers at the buzzer and he's a foot away. And I think that's reasonable. Like, I would get mad too. So I see, there's some contention, but at the same time, when Blake was out and DJ was going on that 2020 spree, Chris was right there. Chris, there was one game at home where DJ had 19 boards and a ball came off the rim and the game was done, and Chris purposely didn't get the rebound so DJ could get a 2020. Like, I didn't think things were like so terrible. The only thing that made me think that, there could be weight to this is just because Chris Paul has a nasty streak to him. Just like, Kobe Bryant has a nasty streak to him. And so people might not enjoy playing with him. But the difference between Kobe and Chris is that Chris Paul leads the league in assists most of the times he's playing. So he knows where you want the ball, exactly how you like the ball. Just ask JJ Redick, who had a career year last year. Just ask DeAndre Jordan, who's had career years over and over again. These guys are getting set up, and yeah.
It's strange because, DeAndre Jordan, he's been in the league for like 6-7 years now. By this time, I think to me, he should know what what his limits are and what
Mm-hmm.
he's capable of.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole thing with Dallas selling him on that, yeah, you can be like Shaq. You're gonna be our first option. We're gonna run the ball, run everything through you in the post. I mean, do you think he actually really believed that?
I'm sure. Just like when you're young and you haven't been featured in a role like that, you've been getting better under a coach in a very specific role. You have confidence now. DJ didn't have confidence a few years ago. Now he has confidence because of Doc. And you hear all these things and you think, you know what, maybe I can do it. But then he probably looked around. I hear his family wanted him to also stay in LA, and that must have been another point, because what's if your family wants you to be in Los Angeles? So I just think he needed a little. DJ did it was terrible, and I agree with that. But as far as being set and who he is, honestly, to a point, yeah. I mean, I just think he's the player. Harden. I found the entire correlation between Harden leaving the Thunder, the Clippers, interesting, because I know Harden went crazy as soon as he left OKC, but he had single-handedly buried the Mavericks in that series. I remember they played the year before series against Spurs when they beat the Spurs en route to the finals. Harden had lots of flashes. Amazing scorer, and he got better and better in scoring. But DJ, they wanted to change. They wanted to give him post looks. It doesn't make much sense to me. And we don't need DJ in the post. We have the best offense in the league. We've had the best offense in the league last year. He's in the worst, but the Clippers had the best offense in the league, and we've had the best offense in the league.
Most efficient offense in the league.
Exactly. True. So there's no need for it. And if DJ wants more looks in the post, it would be kind of weird, because we have the best most efficient offense in basketball. So,
and I think even in today's offense, like, it's about pace and space. Mm-hmm. And I think when you dump the ball down on the block, it sort of ruins your pace and the flow. Mm-hmm. Especially in the West, where teams play very up tempo and fast, mm-hmm. at a fast, frenetic pace. Mm-hmm. It definitely could affect their offense.
I mean, Clipper fans don't like it when Blake faces up and he's indecisive for 5 seconds, let alone DJ, who doesn't really have a go-to pet move in the post, just kind of going there. I mean, we used to give the ball to him with Vinny at the beginning of every game just to get him a touch, and mm-hmm. Sometimes he could make it, and I wouldn't have been surprised if maybe he developed a little bit of a post. He's so big, and he could probably get to the rim. It's just he doesn't have any real pet moves. He has a little bit of a hook shot, but it's just very rarely seen, and that's fine. We don't need him to do that. And honestly, I think Carlisle would have been sick of doing that after a while. Cuban himself even said that DJ could essentially be a younger, more like Tyson Chandler. Well, guess what Tyson Chandler did? Essentially what you were doing in LA. And Rick Carlisle isn't a stupid coach. He loves pick and rolls. He's been running them even with that point guard, and he's been running them with Tyson Chandler. And he would be silly to ruin the floor of their offense by just dumping it to DJ.
I think Rick Carlisle would grow increasingly frustrated when teams go to hack a DJ. I know that's something definitely he likes to do.
One thing I would have looked forward to was hacking DJ as a Maverick, but I'm glad he's a Clipper.
All I know is this year, whenever the Mavs and the Clippers play, I think DeAndre Jordan could set a NBA record for free throws attempted in the game.
He's going to get massacred by the fans in Dallas. I can't wait for that game. I hope it's probably maybe it'll be a Christmas game. We'll see. Actually, I don't know, because the Clippers Golden State thing kind of lost some steam last year, and since they didn't meet them in the playoffs, maybe it will be a Dallas Clippers Christmas game.
I think Spurs Clippers is could be a good Christmas matchup.
That would be fantastic, but we'll see. Yeah. I'm sure the Rockets will also get some national stuff with the Clippers.
Let's hope. I'm hoping it'll be nice to see my guys, on Christmas Day.
Mm-hmm. How much national coverage did the Rockets get in the first place last year?
I think we had 10, 15 games. We had a couple Sunday games on ABC, mm-hmm. and I had League Pass, so I used to hate it when we had national games because then I couldn't watch it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
So do you think Chandler Parsons' reputation as a recruiter took a hit with DJ going changing his mind?
Not really. I mean, DJ agreed. What more can Parsons do? I mean, he for such a mediocre player, he's really good at recruiting players. So I don't really think that Parsons let people down. I thought Parsons' thing, essentially his interview after the DJ thing was pretty sad and reeked of like a dumped boyfriend or girlfriend.
You think? Do you think he kind of crossed the line a little bit? I mean, he's saying DJ is not a franchise player, that he was scared, and I mean, just coming from Chandler Parsons, like he's a solid, like to me, above average role player, maybe at best.
Parsons pretty much left the Rockets to be the same player in Dallas, so I don't have anything to say to him. I mean, he's a nice player. He's not a franchise guy. He didn't come to Houston he didn't come to Dallas to be a franchise guy. He seemed to insinuate that in his interview. He threw DJ under the bus completely. He said that they could still be friends and that is not personal. Well, you're taking a lot of shots at him, and this is completely public. I don't think you guys are going to be good friends anymore. The entire world, and I wouldn't be surprised if Parsons came to the Clippers next year. He's not. There's no loyalty in that guy. That guy is all hot air. And I know Mavs fans are probably pretty hyped up. Chandler Parsons, what a beacon for the Mavericks. That guy doesn't have any loyalty. I think that guy's just on his own agenda, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was getting wined and dined. I'm not sure when his contract's up, but I think it might be up.
He signed a 3-year, $45 million contract with the opt out after year two.
Right. That's
so
right.
He could yeah. I mean, I don't know the Clippers cap space, but he would be a good fit.
We're not going to get him, but point is, I don't think we're not getting anybody right now. We're paying well over about $95 million, and the apron I think is $86 million. So we're already paying tax. We're not getting anybody because I think next year we're locked with this team. It's going to DJ, Chris, Blake, and JJ all are under contract for the next 2 years. I think Blake and Chris both have player options in a couple of seasons from now, but for the next 2 years we're locked in. We're not getting Chandler Parsons, but the point is I think Parsons is great with the media. He knows how to talk. He knows how to talk to players.
But do you think him going off on DJ and throwing him under the bus may affect him in the future? If he's trying to, recruit guys to play with him, wherever he is.
I mean, just because DJ deserved a lot of flack, I don't think it's going to really affect his reputation as a recruiter. DJ deserves a lot of flack. Like he agreed to a deal and essentially backed out last minute. Didn't talk to Cuban. Didn't talk to the Mavericks. Barricaded himself in his house. That's weird. Like, I love DJ. I'm going to be happy to have him back. It's clear he wants to be a Clipper, but if I was a Mavericks fan, I would hate him forever. I remember when Elton Brand did something similar when he was a Clipper, and he seemed to have a quiet agreement with Baron Davis that they were going to play together in Los Angeles if Davis came. The day after Davis signed, he left for Philly, and most of the Clipper fans, everybody Clips Nation, for the most part, hate Elton because of that. We call him Felton.
You don't think his jersey will be retired?
Oh, no, not anytime soon. But, I mean, Elton gave essentially a playoff run. That's it. He was an MVP candidate that year. But aside from that, we didn't make the playoffs the next year because Dallas purposely lost to Golden State to get Golden State in the playoffs over the Clippers because they thought they could handle Golden State. And we know how that turned.
Mm-hmm. Didn't work out very well.
No, but we had... like Elton. I like Elton Brand. I forgive him by now. I think Sterling was a terrible owner. Elton leaving. A lot of people maybe want to talk about, but I don't have anything against Elton. If DJ would have left the Clippers, I would have thought that. I did think that he just was. I don't know. He just cared a lot about putting up stats rather than winning.
Yeah.
It would have been really taking. Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the emoji battle over DJ?
I think Mike Woodson was really underrated with the swimming emoji. It was really impressive. Probably I like the swimming emoji and the banana boat. The banana boat is probably my favorite thing. Chris Paul, not known for being the funniest guy, but he killed it with that. So
after listening to the low post with JJ Redick, I kind of have a little more. It was a great podcast.
Yeah.
And having listened to that, I have a little more appreciation for JJ Redick's car emoji, because technically he drove out to Houston from Austin.
Yeah. And he went the wrong way for a bit, right?
Yeah. On the way back, I think he missed an exit or something on I-10 and ended up in San Antonio.
That's hilarious.
But it was just hilarious. I mean, I tweeted out a few emojis with cash and just some money over, and I think some of Blake's escapades on Twitter with the chair and the tent in the backyard.
The entire emoji thing, when it was happening, I was just like, "Oh, Blake's gonna kill this on social media pretty soon." And then when he put the chair against the door and it was critiquing the furniture placement, that was fantastic. I knew Blake was gonna bring something hard, and that was probably one of my. And then of course, just all the fans and. There was just so much great. The Simpsons gif of DeAndre walking in as Grandpa Simpson and taking off his hat and leaving with Cuban at the stool. Fantastic. Everything was so great.
Yeah.
And that was a entertaining day. You know what? I really think that this entire DJ thing was settled on Tuesday, and then maybe not entirely settled. He still wanted to see the team. But I just think that the team just had fun with it, and Pierce's rocket was great, and Pierce's player tribune thing was great. It's just
I loved that's why they brought me here.
Oh my goodness, Paul Pierce is like a cartoon character now with all his catchphrases. Yeah. But he's gonna be good. I think Pierce is gonna be the next piece.
He's definitely an upgrade over Matt Barnes.
He is. The only thing is defensively, it's a bit of a worry because we're going to want to start Pierce. I'm not sure how much of a fit defensively he is with the first unit, which is why some people.
Mm-hmm. But as a small forward, who's he going to have to guard in the West?
I mean, Kawhi Leonard will eat him up. Even Parsons can move. Who is it? The Trevor Ariza has a good first step. Kevin Durant is a monster.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about Kevin Durant.
Harrison Barnes is underrated, really fast. He has a great first step too. Quick. These guys are all quick. Like
it could be a problem. It could be a problem.
Yeah, that's why Wes Johnson is interesting because even though he's not the most impressive. He doesn't have the most impressive resume. He has all the tools to be a really nice defender. He has long arms. He has decent lateral speed. He can work on it and maybe keep up with people defensively. We might have to put Pierce at the 4 sometimes to kind of hide that and to kind of ramp up the offense. It could work. I'm interested in seeing how he is in the 4, but I'm glad we're not going to have to go to it that often in the regular season because it would be not good for his body. But I'm guessing he's going to get like 20, 25 minutes a game, so should be
definitely fresh. In terms of bad ways to handle free agency, where does this DJ saga rank with the decision in the Dwight Mayer?
The DJ thing and the way he handled it was terrible, and I don't know if it's worse than I know with the Dwight Mayer. I mean, Dwight even flew back to LA to tell the Lakers. I remember it was a big deal. It was a big deal when he went to the Rock, but that's not really. I guess that doesn't really Lakers, right? Is that technically what it is? Does Dwight Mayer include the Lakers?
I guess the Dwight Mayer, includes the Magic. The Dwight Mayer is probably from 2011, I would say, through him signing with the Rockets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, so then you could count the Laker thing. He was just very indecisive, but he never had a verbal agreement. It was just lots of trade demands. It was very into Melo's entire thing with the Nuggets and the Knicks.
Oh yeah. That's another one too. Yeah. The melodrama. I mean, to me,
so the melodrama. That was what they called it, which is fantastic.
Yeah. If I had to
I
rank
love the name melodrama. Sorry.
melodrama, I think I just came up with that. I don't know if that's what they called it, but
No. It's a thing. It's a thing.
oh, okay.
It's a thing. Great minds think alike. It was a thing for a long time. Melodrama.
Melodrama.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had to rank them, I mean, I think I would go melodrama. I'd go melodrama 4, and I think the Dwightmare and melodrama were about as bad as each other. With Dwight, I think maybe he gets. I give him a little. I cut him some slack because at the end of the day, he did tell Mitch that, hey, I'm not going to resign. So that was. I thought that was.
I remember that. Yeah,
nice of him.
He flew back too to talk to him in person.
He flew back to LA, and then Chris Broussard thought he was actually waffling on his decision. But I don't know. I would go.
Chris Broussard.
I think. Yeah, it's tough with it. To me, it's a toss up between the decision and the DJ saga because I don't think the decision was as bad. I just think it's not. I think LeBron just signed with the Heat and didn't let Dan Gilbert know. I mean, I'd probably go. I think this is probably worse than the decision.
I think the hour special LeBron thing. I remember when this happened. I was much more of a vocal LeBron hater just because everybody was, and I also didn't like LeBron James mostly because of all the Cavs stuff, all the bowling pins with Shaq and all the stupid sideline things they would. I thought it was so silly and like really dumb. The guy hadn't won anything and he's doing all these like really silly. I don't know why he did that stuff, but I didn't like LeBron for that reason. Never because of what he did on the court. He's always been a fantastic player. He's always been essentially the best player in the league since he got to his prime. But I think doing an hour special and just kind of pulling that out of Cleveland, who hasn't won in I don't even know how long, in like 60 years or something.
The decision
that was terrible.
But
that was terrible. Like if I was a Cleveland fan, just tell me. Just give yourself a TV special. It literally felt like a soap opera by the end of it. And I thought it was the stupidest thing. I was like, LeBron, you're like twisting the knife. Like, stop. Like, if you're going to Miami, just say you're going to Miami. Don't make it like there's a drum roll and you have to like say I'm going to South Beach. It was the silliest, like dumbest thing. I'm like, you're killing these people. I mean, I'm sure people in Cleveland just.
Because since I wasn't, on like the receiving end of any of this, as a neutral, I'm not from Cleveland. I'm not from LA. Mm-hmm. For me, both things were pure entertainment. Like I figure if you're gonna announce it, I feel that's how you should announce it on a televised special if you're a mega monster free agent. But I think for Cavs fans, yeah, it definitely was a knife in the back the way he did it.
When you're thinking about the difference between what would happen if DJ suddenly left the Mavericks and LeBron's on, it's no question, it's no contest. Like the Cavs went from a contender to a bottom lottery team, and the Mavericks are going to go from a fringe playoff team to a lottery team.
So. I don't even think they would have been a playoff team with DJ. Yeah,
they might not have even made the playoffs because really, what are you going to do? Parsons is recovering. What did he have? An ACL tear?
No, he had some torn cartilage, and I think they were considering microfracture.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Microfracture. Isn't that what happened?
I don't think he had microfracture. I think he had just, I don't know, some other type of. It was not microfracture. They might have just repaired his cartilage or something.
Okay, but either way, the guy relies a lot on his first step and explosiveness at the basket. It would have been bad for him. Wes Matthews is going to be a wash next year. I know he's talking up like
max contract coming off.
No, for sure. Injury. The only reason they probably did that is thinking of the cap jump and how the contract won't look so bad. But Wes Matthews is a great player. He's a great role player, but he's just coming off an Achilles injury. Who has come off an Achilles injury with? I was asking one of my buddies about this. I can't think of anybody that's come off successfully off an Achilles injury aside from maybe Dominique, and that was a long time ago. Kobe came off of it. I guess he played well, but he was terrible. He was terribly inefficient, even when he was playing. Brand had an Achilles. He was never the same.
Never the same.
Yeah, like a ton of players have had Achilles injuries, and they just never come back the same. And that's how I wouldn't trust Wes Matthews, especially Wes Matthews, who's it's so important for him to play defense, especially when he was a Trailblazer. And it's going to be the same thing now that he's a Maverick. It's so important for him to play defense. Just his movement is so important, and I don't know how he's going to be able to replicate that for a couple of years, probably.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's just him. Like a lot of guys this summer, I think he got overpaid to some degree.
But all the contracts will look relative next year when the cap jumps. So
We'll see.
we'll see.
I mean,
I look at the Clippers salaries, and everything looks fine. I mean, I know DJ's getting paid a little bit more than Blake right now, but with how the cap's going to jump, and honestly, DJ's worth the max. So is Blake. So is Chris, and everybody else on the Clippers, aside from I guess you could argue Stevenson because of his crappy year last year. Everybody else in the Clippers, JJ Redick's 7-something million contract looks like incredible to me now.
Definitely.
So
I mean,
yeah,
these days in the NBA, I mean, like your core guys, you have to keep your foundation, even if you have to max them out. So and DJ, I mean, is part of that. And I mean, like if he had left, then that would have set the Clippers back at least 1 or 2 years. And especially with Chris Paul, you know, I think he's almost 30. You don't want to waste his prime years.
Yeah, he's 30 now. Yeah, he's over 30.
Yeah. So now that the Clippers brought back DJ and they added some depth with Lance and Paul Pierce, how do you think they match up against the elite of the West, specifically the Spurs and the Warriors?
The Spurs are the best team in the league, and there's nobody that's quite there as far as paper and system. So I think the Warriors are probably nearly as good, but the Spurs with Aldridge and Duncan and Green and Kawhi and Parker, that's ridiculous. I can't even. And LaMarcus, I know there's lots of questions about his defense, but that guy's a big dude, and I think he'll buy into whatever Pop wants to do. The only thing is maybe they're a little redundant. I don't care. That team is going to be a lot to handle in the playoffs. But you never know. I mean, Parker's getting worse and worse. Duncan might finally fall off. I don't bank on it. But Kawhi is getting better and better, and Kawhi is terrifying.
I mean, I think for the Spurs, I think keeping Patty Mills was big because I thought last year in the playoffs, I think he was huge for them. I thought he played better than Tony Parker. Spurs are just so deep. Sure. I think the Spurs are just so deep, and I think Popovich will find a way. I have a feeling this though. I don't wish injury upon anyone, but part of me wonders: is this the year that something like maybe there's a fall off to some degree with Duncan or Ginobili or Parker, maybe all three.
The only thing is, like, they have Aldridge now, so he's going to play even less. Duncan could play 10 minutes a game if he wants. Like, he does. They don't need him to play that much time. I think they still have Baines. I don't know who else is in their front court. Baines is gone. Who signed Baines?
I don't know. He signed with another team. I know he's not there. I think maybe the Bucks. Somebody else. I can't remember. Like Baines is gone. And Splitter's gone.
So Baines is gone. Splitter's gone. So who did that? Bonner? Is Bonner the only other front court player now?
I think so.
Yeah, and they could go small. And Bonner was probably underutilized last year. He's a really good shooter. He's not necessarily a post presence, but he's a really good shooter. They're gonna be.
But on defense, though, I'm sure Chris Paul sees him in the game. His eyes light up because
no doubt, definitely. So yeah, I'm just hoping DJ will jump out whenever he sees Bonner on the perimeter because that guy can knock him down. He missed a lot of shots. I remember, not a lot of shots, but he missed a handful of shots in the Clipper series that he probably wouldn't make normally. But I mean, they're really good. They have lots of flex. Yeah.
How about the Warriors? I mean, like, they're the champs. I mean, obviously they'll be the team to beat somebody until somebody beats them. How do you think the Clippers, especially with Lance and Paul Pierce, how do you think they match up with the Warriors?
A good thing about the Warriors is, even though I think Barnes could kill the Clippers, and I think with Mark Jackson, if he saw Paul Pierce across this is like old school Warriors. If Mark Jackson saw Paul Pierce in the lineup and had Harrison Barnes, or even Iguodala when Iguodala used to start, he would probably go ISO against Pierce and try and, just like he did when he saw Redick guarding Klay Thompson. But the thing about the Warriors that might play to the Clippers' advantage, but not really, is I don't think they're just gonna beat down a mismatch over and over again. That's not what Kerr does, unless it's really playing to his hand. So we can maybe get away with Pierce guarding Barnes because he's not a featured player on that offense. So I get worried about Pierce guarding small forwards that are quick, but if they ever did go to Barnes, we could try Wes Johnson. Barnes is a real X factor for me for that team because I think Green is great, but Blake will cancel out and be better than Green. Green's a great defender on Blake. He's one thing about Green. He's probably the single best single coverage defender that Blake Griffin has faced. That's been like a starter because he started last year and he did a great job on Blake. I never liked Draymond Green. I still don't like Draymond Green, but I used to think he was a hack and that he wasn't a real proper NBA player. But that guy deserves every cent. He is a really good power forward in the league. And even though he's undersized, he's a big guy, won't let you back him down, can switch on anybody.
I still don't think he's a max player, but
who is a max player then?
That's the thing. In today's NBA, I mean, I think we have to change our perspectives of max salaries. It's kind of like in baseball. It used to be in baseball, if you got $100 million, it's like, whoa. And then if you got $200 million, it's like, oh my God. Now, if you're like a utility player, you get $100 million. If you're a player in baseball, you get $200 million. So
there's no cap in baseball. It doesn't even matter. Baseball's a joke. Yeah.
I mean, he's their core piece. So like the Clippers, they had to definitely max him out and bring him back.
Yeah, and they got rid of Lee, and now they have they got Gerald Wallace. I don't know if they're going to keep him or not. Probably. I hear he's a great locker room guy. But yeah.
I mean that he's also a versatile guy. I think he would fit in kind of with some of what they do. Like if they go small, he can rebound. Play some defense.
I don't know if that guy plays anymore, though. I don't know how much he even played last year.
Not sure. I haven't seen him play since the Nets.
There's a little known fact that the only players to average 2+ blocks and 2+ steals in a season, I think it goes Hakeem multiple times, maybe David Robinson multiple times.
I think I can see that for sure.
And Gerald Wallace.
Yeah.
when he was with the Bobcats. Yeah, he was a fantasy beast.
I think he was an all-star with the Bobcats too.
I don't know if he was. I don't think he was an all-star, but he was a fantasy all-star. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting. Also, I know we're more Clippers heavy, but just with the Warriors, I mean, I wonder if they're gonna Andre Iguodala winning Finals MVP. I wonder how that affects Harrison Barnes. I mean, do they keep him? They try to save some money. Lowball him.
Yeah, for the longest time, I thought Harrison Barnes was going to be collateral damage, but I don't know. When you win a championship, players want to stay, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I don't know. Is he committed to the Warriors yet? I'm not even sure.
I think he's eligible for an extension. I think that's what it is. I think he was eligible for an extension.
I see.
I think they could just run it back again with him next year, and then he'd be a restricted free agent.
Yeah, something like with what happened to Harden, and they could have ran it back, but they didn't.
Yeah.
No, I thought for the longest time that Barnes could be collateral damage because Iguodala is just locked in, and their payroll is jumping with Draymond coming back, and they already have Bogut locked in and Curry, but Curry has such a great deal. Thompson's deal is kicking in, or has been kicking in. It's interesting to see what they might do, but when you win a title, I feel like you can just kind of assume everybody's coming back. It's hard to imagine people leaving after you win a ring. So I'm gonna guess everybody comes back. If Barnes left, that they would have a hole because Iguodala is good, but his stats were inflated by, especially his offensive stats were inflated by just playing with Steph Curry. Steph Curry makes everything go on that team. I know the it seemed like the Cavs were hedging hard and on pick and rolls and leaving Iguodala open on the perimeter, and he would get his threes that way. He was a good defender, but he was a good defender against the guy that had the most amazing, stat line in NBA Finals history, probably. So while he was a good defender on LeBron, and so was Kawhi last year, I don't think no one shut down LeBron. Like that guy just had to do too much.
I mean, it wasn't like Iguodala on an island with LeBron. I mean, he had a lot of help. And no Kyrie, no Kevin Love. There was no spacing. I mean, he was every possession. I mean, it's just they made LeBron play a way he doesn't like to play. High volume, Allen Iverson mode.
Mm-hmm.
And with no facing no one on the perimeter really to respect it, that made it tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and they would switch sometimes. Like Draymond got some looks at him. I think Barnes got some looks at him. They switched, but yeah, Iguodala was the primary guy. But it plays into the narrative that he got Finals MVP. They made the adjustment where they took out Bogut and started Iguodala, and then they won the series.
Oh,
so
they don't win that series without Iguodala for sure.
For sure, it was fine that he won Finals MVP. I did think Curry was closer than people probably give him credit for, but I think the Warriors are going to be great again. I think they have an amazing team. I love their bench. I love their 3 bench guys in even just their 2 bench guys in Livingston and Iguodala. I love Livingston. He's a Swiss Army knife off the bench. You could play him 1 through 3. He guarded LeBron briefly during. He almost had a triple double. I think it was in maybe Game 4 or one of the Warriors wins. He's such a good bench player. As soon as he signed that contract, he's at $5 million a year, but that was such a steal.
I thought it was a great pickup for them.
Yeah, I was so jealous. I wanted him really badly to come back, obviously, but I'm happy for him that he won a ring. But not only am I happy for him, he's one of the best bench perimeter players in the league. He knows his role. He can create if you want. He can post up if you want. He has an underrated post up game. He has incredible vision for somebody that tall still. And he has some athleticism. He can still dunk the ball. He's been dunking the ball. I still get worried that he's going to fall on his leg. And but
I didn't even know how. That was just the most bizarre, randomest. To this day, I wonder what happened. How could somebody have such a catastrophic knee injury off a layup? He just went up, and then he got challenged in a way he didn't anticipate, and it's terrible. It's terrible. Yeah. He was coming up. He would have been a really nice player. He's still a player. He would have been an all-star if he had stayed healthy. He was about to get the reins. He was starting and everything. He was the Cassell to Livingston torch had been passed, but he's still really good, and he's gonna contribute to a contender for a few years. So good for him. Yeah. And what do you think will be considered a successful season next year for the Clippers?
They have to at least make the Western Conference Finals. If they don't, it's a failure. There's not even a question. They should have made it last year. They probably should have been closer to it the year before. This team has a 2-year window with all these players. They can bring back everybody for longer. I know DJ's committed for longer, but if we lose another 2 times in the second round, Chris and Blake are going to think really hard about where they're going to go. And I know part of the reason DJ was worried is because he didn't know if Blake was going to stay after 2 years. But I'm sure Blake said, you know what, I'm going to stay, just stay. But if this team underachieves another 2 years, it's going to be hard to say that everybody comes back. We're just going to run it back. It's these next 2 years are super important. They need to at least make it to the 3rd round. And if they don't, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough moving forward because
at what point, I mean, this is something we'll definitely have to address on the future podcast, but at what point do you look at Doc Rivers and, be like, come on. Why are we, at what point does Doc Rivers be a little more accountable, for what the Clippers, how far the Clippers go and what they do?
The thing about Doc
Especially
that he's
the GM and the coach.
Yeah, I mean, Doc isn't. I think Doc has done a great job as a coach. He hasn't done a great job as a GM, and it's not because he got Austin Rivers. It's not because he signed Spencer Hawes. It's not any of those things. It's because he's been very liberal with how he trades his picks, and he doesn't realize the value that picks have. I think the rationale for Doc and maybe the front office trading picks is, we're going to if we keep the pick, we're just going to draft somebody in the low 20s and he's not going to pan out. And he even sold me briefly on that when we were talking in our community and at Clips Nation about it. And I saw it and I was like, you know what? Maybe there's some truth to that. It's not like Reggie Bullock is setting the world on fire. Nobody cares about a pick like Trey Tompkins or any of these Clipper rookies that have come and gone. Like nobody cares about those people because they're hit or miss when it's that late. The thing that Doc underrates is you can trade those picks to teams that want to rebuild and get players. And like I think Jeff Green went for a pick. I think I don't know if Corey Brewer went for a second rounder or a first rounder, but there was a pick accompanied in that trade, wasn't there? Like what was the point?
So. Yeah, second round pick maybe. It wasn't.
Yeah.
We didn't give up. It wasn't our first.
Yeah, but if you keep picks, you can trade them into players that are role players, and that's what we need. It's not like we need a star anymore. We don't need a star. So Doc was just giving away picks. We traded for Jared. We traded a pick in the Jared Dudley deal, and then we traded Dudley out with another pick. It's ridiculous. Like he's just depleted this team of picks. And that might seem like we don't need picks when we're a win now team, but we still could use those picks as assets to get players because now we have Jamal Crawford. We have this 35, 36-year-old vet who is coming off one of the most inefficient seasons he's ever had a miserable postseason, and we can't unload him because how much do you want an expiring contract that's $5 million? That's about $5 million. When you're not getting anything back, like all you want is the cap space. It's just $5 million. Like I get that can be valuable, and now it's at a point where if Jamal's traded, then the team absorbs his entire salary versus before July 1st, where if he was traded, they could have waived him and just kept the 1.5 against their cap, but 1.5 million guaranteed against their cap, which is why Matt Barnes was traded so early because he had a similar financial situation. But now with Crawford, it's just the guy wasn't good last year. He was even worse in the postseason. You want a young team, you want Crawford to go to a young team and just jack up shots. What's the point? Like there's no point if you're trying to get picks. When you're a young team and you're rebuilding, you're not looking for a 36-year-old or a 35-year-old. You're looking for picks, and we don't have any of that. And it's because Doc got rid of them already. And that's the thing that he's been bad about at GM. Last year, when we got Hawes, everybody thought Hawes was going to be good. No, I don't remember many writers, ESPN or otherwise, even Bill Simmons, who like trashed the Clippers repeatedly after the Hawes deal. Simmons picked the Clippers to make the finals in his first ESPN show. That show he had, the Grant Lawn Basketball Hour. But yeah,
my rationale, I thought, for getting Hawes was maybe Doc in his head was planning for DJ defecting. And it was sort of like maybe like a backup insurance policy if that happened. But
yeah, everybody thought that too, and we thought Spencer was going to be better. But the thing about Spencer that everybody kind of underrated, everybody looked at his offense and his shooting and thought that this is great. We can play Spencer with Blake, and we can have Spencer be the stretch four we've always wanted. And then we can put Blake down low and have space, unlike with DJ, when DJ has to be down low. That was the thinking. And but then he came, his shot was broken. And the thing I don't think we realize enough is while he's an okay post defender, he is one of the slowest players I've ever seen. And the pick and roll scheme with Doc defensively always has had the bigs hedging hard on pick and rolls. And you need to have good feet to do that. And Spencer doesn't have it. So we would just have teams run Spencer through pick and rolls and he would be lost. He wouldn't be able to get back. He wouldn't be able to recover. He wouldn't be able to move onto the guys that he was hedging hard on. It was terrible. Like it was the worst watching Spencer Hawes handle pick and rolls defensively. And that made us not only weak offensively because Spencer couldn't hit his shots, but that made us terrible defensively because not only did Spencer take the year off on defense, but Blake wasn't a very good defender during the regular season either. So the Blake Spencer combination was worse than the Blake DJ combination, and it was a big bummer. Yeah.
I guess you live and you learn. Do you think this scenario would ever happen where maybe Doc steps down as coach and just promotes himself to team president and just sticks mainly in the front office, kind of in a Pat Riley role? And that's something I've heard going around on some radio stations in LA.
I hope not. I mean, I could maybe see him being a great coach like Riles did with the Heat, and then maybe thinking about that. But man, that would get a lot of flack. I don't know how dominant Riley was. I don't know how dominant Riley was with the players when he was a coach, because I know people like Carl have a lot, like George Carl have a lot of influence in what players come in, even as a coach. I don't know how much of it Riley had as a Knick, or even as a member of the Heat, or even as a Laker.
No, I mean, as the Heat, he was team president and general manager.
Yeah, but when he was coach, like, did he have?
I think when he was coach, he was also
really.
When he got there, he was team president,
that's right.
And everything.
The entire thing.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that as much. But you see, I mean,
yeah, but it didn't work out that well for a while.
Yeah, I mean, the Heat were, even with Alonzo Mourning and Tim Hardaway, that team was pretty good. They lost to the Knicks that year, but the Knicks went to the finals. Like, they were always in the mix out east. Mm-hmm. They just couldn't. They just didn't have the star. I think Alonzo and even Hardaway's legs were gone, but Alonzo was always kind of a secondary guy. And but he did as best as he could with the Heat. He made them relevant. Got Wade eventually, and like, you got to give Riley credit. But I think Doc has made so many bad. Not so many bad, but he's been under the magnifying glass for so long as a GM that I didn't even realize like Riley was the team president, because that team was humming. You know, that team was pretty good considering the star power they did have. I don't think they underachieved. The Heat were a good team. They were a good quality team in the East. But the Clippers have Blake Griffin and Chris Paul and DeAndre Jordan and JJ Redick. This team should be doing well. This team should be in the finals by now. And maybe not. They should at least be in the Western Conference Finals by now. This team has too much talent otherwise. And Doc has, truth be told, Doc has depleted the bench year after year after year. The bench has gotten weaker and weaker since Vinny's last year. We had the best bench in the league, arguably, Vinny's last year, when we had Bledsoe and Lamar and Jamal and Barnes. We had a nice bench. And then the year after, we got Carlson for a discount, which was great. But then the year after that, we had this bench, and they've been terrible. And somebody needs to be accountable. And Doc is getting a lot of flack for it, even though we really have another GM, Dave Wall, who's like the proper GM, who probably doesn't get enough flack. But Doc still okays a decision, so he's gonna get the bad end of the stick. So it's it'll be interesting if he ever did become that kind of president, non-coach, but he would have to like earn it. You know, he would have to be here for a bit and really elevate this team to what we expected them to be elevated to. Otherwise, it's not going to be seamless. That's definitely not. And at this point, I can't kind of imagine it, because I just feel like there would be a lot of inner criticism within the Clippers organization if that did happen. So we'll see what he does. He's had a great offseason this year. So we'll see if he can. Maybe he'll get better. You know.
Yeah, true. On the job training.
Yeah.
So all right, well, that concludes our podcast for today. Thanks, Shapan, this was great stuff, and we're kind of recapping everything that went on with the DJ saga and looking ahead. Where the Rockets
going to be next year?
I think we're going to be in the thick of things. I think the West is so loaded. I mean, I'd say we're the third. I'd say we're the third or fourth best team in the West. I mean, after the Spurs and Warriors. I mean, it's sort of it's a toss up between us, the Thunder, and the Clippers. I mean,
yeah, the Rockets are in that tier. I think they deserve it.
I think it's one of those things where I think if we stay healthy and maybe another team has an injury, we kind of catch a break. I could see, but it's so hard to say. I mean, I think I really wanted us to add another point guard, another creator on offense, and we haven't yet.
I think you got Marcus Thornton today, right?
We what?
I think did you pick up Marcus Thornton?
Oh, I don't know. That would be good if we got Marcus Thornton.
He's a good scorer.
He's a good scorer, but I think the thing was the roster we have now with Daryl Morey. It's always at the trade deadline he will look at it and see what do we need, and he'll make some moves. It's Marcus Thornton signed one year minimum contract. Okay, that's good.
I just saw. That's good. He's a nice piece.
Yeah, he can shoot.
That probably means Jason Terry's not coming back.
Jason Terry might go to the Mavs.
Oh,
Might be a reunion. So I mean, Terry was good for us for 1 year, but I mean, he's not a starting point guard. We have a lot of good young prospects, with Nick Johnson, Clint Capella, Sam Decker. I think the thing is they're a couple years away, I think, from really, being day in, day out players, and we're kind of a win now team. So it's the thing is, it's like that balance you have. Like, do you mortgage your future to some extent to maybe pick up a piece that'll help you, maybe for a year or 30 games. So.
I mean, that's essentially what the Mavs have been doing, and now that now they finally came to the end of the line, and they're here essentially. Yeah. So, but they won a title, so who cares?
Yeah, exactly. So.
If the Clippers can win a title, I'll mortgage the next 10 years. It's fine. I don't care. I'll watch them in the lottery. It's fine. I just give me one title. That's all I want.
I mean, that would, if that ever happened. To me, like the coolest scenario would be if the Clippers won a title and they beat the Celtics in the process of doing that title.
That would be great.
Get like a Clippers-Celtics rivalry.
It would probably tear apart Laker fans, because then they would have to pick between rooting for the Clippers and watching them win, or rooting for the Celtics just for them to beat the Clippers, but then getting another ring in the process and upping their lead by another championship.
And also, I think if the Clippers won a title, I think that would be one big banner in Staples.
Yeah, it would be. It would be a massive banner. You wouldn't be all the selfies in the world won't cover up that banner.
And I think everyone will get a statue. Blake, Chris Paul, DeAndre, JJ.
Blake's gonna get a statue as long if he signs his next contract with the Clippers, he's getting a statue, like, regardless. Yeah. Like, he's for sure gonna get a statue. I don't know about Chris. Chris would also need to stay another contract, but Blake is for sure gonna get a statue. He's gonna have his jersey retired. Chris probably will too, but they need to make They need to make the Western Conference Finals.
I mean, I think even if the Clippers got to an NBA Finals, and if you got swept, I think just getting to a final series, to me, it's like good enough.
It would be a big deal for sure.
Yeah. So,
we'll see.
So, yeah. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Shapan. Definitely, it was great talking Clippers, and I'm looking forward to having you back on, again.
For sure.
Future. Yeah. And you guys can catch our podcast on my blog at boxsports.blogspot.com, and you can follow us on Twitter at boxsports. And you can read up, you can follow Shapan at the SB Nation Clippers blog. He writes a lot of good stuff. And
ClipsNation.com. Not writing as much good stuff as I should be, but I'll probably have an article up pretty soon.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. All right. Take care.
All right. Thanks.